Welcome to Monkey and Frank. My name is Do and my body's Dom. And today I have a guest with me. It's my soul brother Mo. And he just launched his first podcast called The Third Point of View. And welcome to the Insanity, Mo. How's it going?
Thank you very much for having me. I'm pretty good. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. So I listened to your first podcast. It's crazy because that's the story that I wanted you to talk about in this podcast. I wanted to hear about your awakening. You are the youngest person that I know that had a full-blown awakening. How old were you when that happened?
I was 18 at the time.
Nice. You mind sharing your story?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Um, so this was around June of 2020. It was my first time trying LSD, and I had just laid down on the grass. And at that point, meditation to me was I was aware that it was just like you close your eyes and you focus on the breath, but the terminology behind it to me wasn't very clear. Like I didn't know that it was an action of being present and being conscious of my own presence in that sense. But however, I was under the influence of the LSD, so I did it anyways. And I closed my eyes and began to breathe, and I was in a very timeless like state of mind. So that could have been 5 minutes, it could have been 20 minutes. The difference was unclear to me. Um, And so when I opened my eyes, I had completely lost my sense of self. There was no more like Mo and the one that goes to school with his family and lives in his house. Like all of that, essentially my life, what my mind had claimed as my identity was no longer, and I was simply just my own awareness. And yeah, it's only coming becoming clear to me now, like how valuable that experience was, because I was fully able to detach from my own identity and look at it from a perspective of just my own being, which is my awareness.
How much did you take? Like how much LSD to be able to bring in
Um,
that experience?
it was maybe like a 200 UG tab.
Whoa. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. And so when you took the LSD, you just woke up, Mo was gone, and did you feel any fear? Because if I would have been in your shoes, I mean, if a lot of people would be in your shoes, I'm sure they would be like, holy shit, this is scary as fuck. Like, what the fuck is going on? But you took it like a champ.
Yeah, no, I was not scared at all. Like I was lying on the grass, so my first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was just the blue sky and the clouds. And to me, like I'm not here anymore. I'm dead. I'm somewhere else. But there was no fear behind it. It was just, oh, that what I was is no longer. Now I'm just this.
And how long did that lasted? Like, did you started wandering about? Did you see any of your friends?
Yeah, it started to feel like that for a little bit, but after I got up and realized, like, okay, some of my friend is here, and like I remembered where I was. Yeah, it came back to me. But
Right.
yeah.
That is sick, man. Because I tell you, the first time I met you and you told me about that story, I mean, personally, I've
Hmm.
never had a de-association uh, thing like that ever happened to me, but I hear it all the time, right? If somebody has a big accident or they go through a big trauma, the brain has this ability to just separate what the fuck has just happened and allows you to, heal, but like even forget what just happened. But you woke up, you de-associated, you had the experience of not being your body. And when you were outside, what was your feeling that like did you feel like you were more? Did you feel like you were part of the universe? Or was it just you didn't know who you were, your body is not you? How did that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt like, well, in the moment I didn't know how to describe it, but if I were to describe it now, I felt like I was simply like the uniting force that every human carries within them, which is just like the awareness of oneself and one's mind. That's exact, like that's as perfect as I can describe it.
That is amazing. And before that, how was your relationship with death? Did you have any fear about death? Where were you in your life when it came to mortality?
Well, death to me was very linked to like the afterlife. Like growing up, like my family is Muslim across the entire family tree, like very, very Muslim.
Right.
So it's a very heaven or hell centric belief, the afterlife. So obviously, as a kid, like it was like almost like a tally system. It's like you do this, you do this, you do this, you go to heaven. You don't do it, it's hell. Like and that did like stir fear into me as a child. But as I grew up, it's not to say that God does no longer play a role in my life. Like obviously there is I'm in full belief of a higher power.
Right.
But you know, death before it it was never it was seen as a continuation where like you die and the belief was that this myself now is what goes to heaven and gets judged based on my actions on earth and etc. But in terms of now, I don't see it like that very much. I see it as whatever whatever is in me, like the energy on a quantum level, whatever is in me will transfer or go elsewhere to the higher level or whatever that may be.
That's crazy. I've never, tell you the truth, man, I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to religion, especially the Muslim. I never had a friend or anybody that explained it more in detail. But so they believe almost like Christianity then. Muslim is just with Allah instead of God, or
Yeah.
and but the
Mm-hmm.
hell does exist in the
Yeah.
Muslim world. That's
Yes.
crazy.
And the other main difference is that in Islam we believe that God um, has not been born and does not give birth. So in that sense, it would be hypocritical. Well, not hypocritical, but in Christianity they believe that Jesus is the Son of God. We don't believe that. We believe he's just a prophet, like a very crucial prophet in the
Yeah.
book.
And now that you've experienced psychedelics and that you've gone further, are you under the belief that, like, almost not that we are the son of God, like literally, but that our soul is like created in the image of God, kind of thing, and it's based on a system of love, or what do you believe? Like your soul?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like the most essential form of our existence individually is a an awareness of just love and knowing.
That is so cool. Because I was listening to your podcast, and you are going as deep in the insanity world as I am. Like you are not your body, you are not your mind, you are not your thoughts. And since you've, well, I don't know how long you really came to grip with that,
Mm.
but since you've came to grip with that, how's your internal monologue? Has it been quieting down more and more? How does it work now that you know that you are not your thoughts?
My internal monologue now is more so I'm able to separate, like let's say for example like a friend of mine upsets me. I'm able to like just relax and sit there and watch those emotions run through me. But my internal monologue, as in me to me, I've
Yeah,
learned to grow more of a friendship with it. As in, like, for example, when a thought comes up, I talk to myself like it's okay, like relax, like it's fine. And I remember like certain I'm reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and it's like super helpful. So when situations like that arise, I'll always think back to like a quote that I like highlighted in that book, or just something to keep me in line with where I want to be mentally.
that is so cool. Because the thing that's catching me lately is my internal monologue is almost gone. Like it's so quiet inside of my mind. But when my children do chaotic thing around the house, for whatever reason, the anger still boils up inside from a place that I
Mm,
have no idea from, right? It's not coming from my thoughts. It's really coming from the center of my body, as if my body does not like loud noises or does not like chaos. And I'm trying to grapple with that idea because it's at the beginning when I lost my thoughts, it was so blissful until I got used to it. And then everything became normal and the anger and the feelings just became more and more intense because that's the only thing that was in my awareness. And as they became more intense, I kind of realized like, hey, my body deserves me to witness it, right? It wants to be witnessed and it wants to be witnessed fully. So every time that I eat bad food and I feel shitty, it's like, yeah, I did that kind of on not on purpose, but I did that and I see it fully and I'm able to accept it. But when it comes to chaos, it seems to come out of nowhere and it still catches me. Do you do you experience that or you're just a very
Oh,
calm person?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Like my little brother comes home, starts yelling instantly, or like my little siblings. Well, I'll be sitting in the basement, right? Like that's where like I have like my gaming setup, my computer, and
Right.
so the footsteps above me are extremely loud. So when they're running around the house and stuff, like it is almost out of my hands, completely out of my control. My whole body boils, and I scream. I'm like, "Shut up! Stop yelling!" And it's so unexplainable.
I hear you 100%, and I'm still trying to grapple with that. That is so cool, man. Mo, I have to tell you, I'm so impressed. You're the one that really, brought me to meditation and to really, have you been doing a lot of meditation lately?
As of recently, I find it very difficult to do it at home, just because it's mainly noisy at the times where I want to do them. But as the weather's been getting better, I've been doing them more outside. I find that outside is like my ideal space to meditate because like the natural sounds around me kind of act as like a background noise to sort of help me get in my zone. So like the trees rustling, some birds tweeting, that helps. But when I'm just like in a quiet house or like when there's people and knowing that like there's footsteps and like movements around the kitchen above me and stuff like that, I can't really focus. But I haven't been meditating like earlier this year, but I've been picking it up lately for sure.
Ah, it's amazing, man. I'm so I'm so happy and like to be going back and meditating with you, man. Because I tell you, this last summer when we did the meditation, there were so many beautiful experience where, oh man, like have you experienced other types of awakening since your experience when you were 18?
Well, mainly the psychedelic induced, but um as of lately, it's been like I said, like I've been finding more ways to actually put more terminology and knowledge into my current experiences. So for example, my LSD dissociation experience, I didn't know that I could describe that as my awareness and my true consciousness. But after a while of like watching and listening to different podcasts and reading books, I'm able to like identify my consciousness and my mind and myself and my ego, and I'm able to identify them in experiences on psychedelics that I've had.
Did you ever experience a bad trip?
Yeah.
No, wait, tell me about it.
Oh yeah. This was November. I'd taken the shrooms. I don't. I remember it. I briefly told you about this, perhaps.
How much did you take?
And I took maybe like 3 grams.
Yeah. All right.
It was a pretty. It was just on the bridge of self control and complete like loss of self into the trip. Um,
Tell me about
and so I'd taken it, and so I went out. I'd smoked like on the come up to like calm down. It's just something I did, even on like my LSD trips. Like weed was a ritual
it. Right.
on the psychedelic trips. Um, but so I came home after all that. I took my skateboard around. Tried to keep it mellow and light and just fun, like it should be.
Well,
And then
like it should be. That's a harsh statement, but continue.
it was definitely not fun, but it was necessary. So I came home, and I at that point in November of 2020. I had been pretty behind on school. I feel like I had trouble letting go of the summer. Like I was still living my life, like going out every day, smoking and stuff. Um, I came home and I completely went crazy. Like it hit me like the situation that I was in. It's like I almost like woke up to my own situation. It's like I'm on this earth and I'm doing this and I have schoolwork and I'm not doing it. Like I realized like the depth of the situation and I panicked and I called my parents, which is the worst thing you can do ever on a trip. I called my parents up to my room and I'm crying. I'm like, guys, like I'm not doing good in school and I don't want to be in this program and blah blah blah. But that ended up resulting in more good. Like my only regret in that situation was that everything that my parents helped me solve after that onwards, I could have done myself without the whole panic and crying in front of them. That, but in the end, it still worked out, and I'm grateful for that. But that was definitely like I was spiraling, and it was like when I cry, it's a very quiet and like just the tears fall. I get over it, walk away. That one was like I was shaking, I was panicking. It was complete downward spiral.
Yeah, sometimes those trips, they're like you say, they're so meant to be, but they're so painful, and especially on 3 grams. Yeah, I remember telling me you went to look at your kind of your schoolwork on the mushroom, which is again not recommending. If you're gonna do set and setting schoolwork, I don't think is a good idea to confront, but it felt like it's exactly what you needed. Because I remember you were telling me
Yeah.
after the point, you were like, next day started doing all my work. And I think you got clean of cannabis too, not too long after too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I was with my one of my friends. Like we both decided um, to quit vaping, weed, and all that stuff. We went cold turkey, signed up for the gym, and like it was running pretty well. Obviously, I had my few moments of going back, like for example, Christmas break and New
Of
Year's.
course.
Like we met up and stuff, but for 90% of the time, I don't smoke anymore, and it was because I did rely on it as an escape. Like I would wake up and look forward to the smoke session, and like I would use it to like get out of a bad state of mind when like the real solution is to not have that temporary fix. It's to just live through it and fix whatever needs to be rather than just put a temporary band-aid on it.
Right. It's like avoiding everything that is stressful and not putting in the effort. That's I don't know if I told you
Mm-hmm.
about that, but I'll share. I took three, 3 point something gram. No, actually, I took 5.5 grams of the mushrooms that I grew, the little tiny mushrooms, the golden teacher. And I was doing it here
Mm-hmm.
alone and my wife was just upstairs. And I decided to do it during the day because I wanted to, doing it at night and you go to bed at 5 o'clock. It's crazy. I get tired for a couple of,
Yeah, it keeps you
yeah.
up.
So I take those mushrooms and I realized same thing as you, I was smoking cannabis every day from morning to night. And right away, the entire world of the mushroom, it was as if there was 1,000 spirits that just turned around, pointed the finger at me, and said, I'm disappointed in you. You're not putting an effort in your life. You should be ashamed of yourself. So for 6 hours, I had the feeling of like 1,000 the spirits pointing at the finger at me saying, you are not putting enough effort in your life. And it was insane. I cried. At one point I couldn't even cry because the shame was so high that it's not like I was sad. I was shame. Like it was a full consuming shame experience that just lasted for 6 hours. It was the worst trip of my life. But the next day when I woke up, I realized like, okay, what the mushroom was telling me is just putting in an effort in everything that you do, even if it's like the idea of effort, like if I'm eating a broccoli instead of eating the chocolate bar, or doing a little bit of work instead of going and listening to, I don't know, some YouTube video or TV or whatever. And now that I've been clean for almost 2 weeks of cannabis, it was it's a big wake up call at the idea that one, cannabis has this bad tendency, if you abuse it, of just consuming you and making you kind of lazy to a certain extent.
Hmm.
And do you believe in spirits? Like, do you believe that the cannabis spirit or the mushroom, they have kind of their own thing, their own intentions, their own uh, feelings, almost like archetypes?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I speaking from like experience and from like the summer when I like first started like smoking again and all that. Like it was very enjoyable. I was like happy. I was vibing. But towards the end of it, it was it it was still a necessity. Like I still did it every day, but like I would do it with friends, but it would do the complete opposite of make everything better. Like
Yeah,
before we smoked, I would be in the car together and I'd be happy, lively, talking, asking how everyone is. The second I smoke it, I am like anxious and super hypersensitive of myself and what others are thinking of me. And I'm very like critically observant of others too. Like I'll look at people and be I judge them in a sense like where I wouldn't normally. Like I'm judging very, very like peculiar and like minuscule details that I shouldn't be. It did create like it's supposed to be like an anxiety helping type of medicine, but it did the complete opposite. It put unwanted dialogue in me. And I do believe that it tells you when it's
a
time
hundred
to quit,
percent.
or it tells you if you've abused it, and it's like, buddy, like you gotta slow
Yeah.
down.
And if you don't listen, it's just going to bring you down and really kind of continue the downward spiral until, you can't take it anymore. And you do something about it, freaking go
Absolutely.
depressed. So then, now that you have it under control, when you smoked at Christmas and New Year's, the experience must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was like the tolerance had been reset, and it was just like typical teenager smoking. Get super baked, go back inside, eat. Like it was like more fun like that rather than like a tool. That's another thing too is I have a deeper appreciation for like these substances as
Right.
tools and guidance rather than just oh, I'm bored, let me smoke and sit and eat and watch videos and play
You
video games.
you
In that sense, it's you are just deteriorating yourself.
a
Like,
100%. Yeah, I was noticing that that was my mistake. I was using it in boredom instead of, and now that it's out, like the productivity in my life is so insane. Like it's so amazing. In a way, it's not like I'm enjoying myself, cleaning the house, but there's something about it. Like I'm putting an effort in my life and it feels like I'm building up this energy and it's actually going forward instead of just being stale. Like when I would smoke up and do some cleaning and kind of putting an effort, it felt like the energy was not going anywhere, like as if the spirit of the cannabis was consuming it all instead of generating like an energy that goes forward. Did you
mhm.
in your past, did you ever lose somebody that was really close to you? Yeah.
um, None. Like when I was super super young, like just under
Right.
1 year old, I lost my grandfather, which is my father's dad, but I didn't have any like losses that severely
Not
impacted me
yet.
like
And
that.
did you
No,
ever have dreams of your grandfather coming in to visit? Not yet. Okay.
no,
So
not at
yeah, that's
all.
something that I'm curious about. Hey man, you're what? You're 20 years old and you still haven't experienced a deep death. I'm guessing now with all your knowledge is it's going to be an interesting journey to go through that. It's like the knowing that there is something after and that, you know, chances are there is no hell. Like, did you ever listen to near death experience on YouTube or something like that?
No, but I know DMT is very much like a near death
Well,
experience.
the near death experiences that I've been watching lately, they always say the same thing. It's always like you get out of your body, you notice that you're dead, you're seeing your body, either you feel bad or you don't. It's wherever you're at in your life and you're awakening. and then you go towards the white light. And as soon as you get on the other side, you've got this immense love of God, Allah, Krishna, you name it, that is there to support you. And then
Mm,
a lot of them, they talk about their shame or their frustration, and God is, or whatever, is always, the love is always there supporting all of their feelings, no matter what they are. And everybody goes through the process of starting to deassociate, right? Not remembering who you were, and slowly. And at the same time, it's filling up all of the fears, frustration, shame that you have with love, and making you whole again, and making you feel like you're back home. And that to me is so freaking inspiring, because testimony after testimony after testimony, they all talk about that. And as I'm going through this journey, I'm thinking to myself, like, oh man, like what would be the worst situation in my life, right? What it would be kind of losing my children, probably. Like, let's say I would lose a child. Even though we have this awakening, we have this knowledge, we have all the wisdom in the world, the pain and the suffering that would come from this type of sadness, because sadness is based out of love, and the more love you have for something, the more sad you're going to be. It would still be a crazy experience to go through. And since my cousin, I was one to believe when I was younger that you can only ride the wave of awesomeness for so long until something happens where, you're going to have to go through something, that's kind of dark to, and I don't wish it on anybody else, but it's like I'm due for one soon. And I'm like, knock on wood, hopefully it's not going to come, but I'm sure it will. We're all going to die one day. But do you think about that?
yeah, no. Well, the thing is, when someone close dies, I know that it's going to be a battle of acceptance and a battle of emotional pain. That's for sure. But
I'll be there for you,
I
man.
don't like the thing is, yeah, of course. Oh, thank you so much. But it's what worries me is, for example, like let's say like my father believes in a heaven or hell, and like he prays, and that like his mind is fully into that. Like that is his belief, wholeheartedly and whole-mindedly. That is what he believes in. Does that mean like I wonder if we manifest our own afterlife? That is a very like
Well,
deep wonder of
the
mine.
near-death experiences that I've been listening to, it be Matt Frazier to, there's a lot of psychics out there that talk about, and it's crazy how they all say similar things. But more importantly, the people that did experience those near-death experience, like the testimonial of people that did die for whatever reason, it be whatever, they always say the same thing. Like the thing that differs between people is who you meet on the other side. So, for example, um, one guy who's like a crazy Jesus Christian believer, when he died, when he had this near death experience and he went on the other side, often well, not often, all of them, they say that you review your life, first of all, right? You review your life, and who you're reviewing your life with, that's where it changes. So, this one guy that was super Jesus, he had, like, it felt like he had Jesus beside him, and then God was on the other side, and they were both helping him through the process of dying, like processing your entire life, seeing what you've done wrong, seeing what you've done right, seeing all the people that you have affected with love, all the people that you've affected with anger, and you are able to see what they went through, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to your father and Allah or whatever, then he would like probably have that, like instead of calling it God, it's all the same, right? When you've got this being of, love, and for Hinduism, it's Krishna. It's just a word in the end. Like in the end, it feels like extreme love. For from what I gather, is source is love, period. And every feeling arises from that love. So here in this world, there is love, and there is everything else, which is not. So you're talking about like the darkness, right? The light and the darkness. But when you die, you go back to the light, where the dark does not exist. Everything is light, everything is love. So I've got this great feeling that, for example, when your dad dies, he's going to go meet Allah and he's going to, go through the process. Now, when it comes to hell, what
Hmm.
they're saying is, especially in Hinduism, is if ever you're really attached to this world and you really have a lot of suffering, you've got a lot of, how do you call that? Disappointment or, anyways, what's that word when you're ashamed? Yeah, regret. So
Regret.
if you have a lot of regret, um, often what they say is that you die and you get reborn right away because you're so attached to your regrets and you're so attached to your suffering that you just get reborn into this life and you relive it again until you get an awakening, until you start trusting in a higher power. Without the trust of the higher power, they say that you can't have that communication with them. So you can't, so as you die, you're not going to be able to go through your life and review your life because you're not believing into this greater power. But again, that's just my opinion. I believe that when it's your time to go back to source, God is going to do it in the most amazing way. There is one uh, experience that touched me when I was listening to those near death experiences. The woman, when she died, she saw all of her successful things that she's done in her life from her point of view. And she was saying like, oh, when she won the gold medal, when she won this trophy, when she accomplished and she became a doctor and blah, blah, blah. And then God replayed her life and showed her what was important to him in her life. And when she re-reviewed her life, she saw that when she picked up that kid one time, when she kissed her mom, when she didn't really want to, or when she pet that dog and like, like and she realized like, oh, it's not the accomplishment or it's not what I know that's important. It's what, the stuff that I didn't realize that I did, like smiled at a bum instead of, scowling at them and stuff like that. So if you put yourself in your dad's shoe,
Hmm.
what do you think like he would see from all of his knowledge of the Muslim thing that he's doing?
Yeah, no. Well, the belief is that it's like a book that of your like
Right.
good deeds. So it's
Yeah.
essentially like a concept of karma, where like it's your good deeds and your bad deeds that sort of like outweigh like how you are. Because like prayer without being a good prayer without being a good person is like kind of irrelevant. So I feel like from based on like how I see it and how he's taught me, it is a matter of like humanity and like Islam and like your deen and your
That
practices.
totally resonates with me.
Definitely.
Yeah, Hinduism says the same thing, man. All religion are pretty much the same. I'm so clueless when it comes to religion. Like seriously, like even the Christian, like I grew up Catholic and I didn't listen. Like seriously, I didn't pay attention to none of it. I just thought like, ah, Jesus is a good example, to do no harm, to love your neighbor and blah blah. I was like, yeah, that's a good dude. That's something to look at. But the idea of something after that, after a while, for me anyways, growing up, it was yeah, no, you die, everything's black, and that's all. So I'm so happy at 30 years old to kind of
Yeah.
have an experience where it's actually like I'm excited. I'm excited about that. It's funny because I did a couple of podcasts about that, about like how I'm excited to die and everything, and I didn't explain the context behind it. If you didn't listen to my previous video, and it's funny, somebody contacted my wife, is like, is your husband okay? He's talking about dying and being, excited about death and everything like that. And she's coming from a point of view of like depression. And my wife comes to me today, and she's like, yeah. So is everything okay? I heard that you're talking a lot about death in your podcast, and I explained to her, oh no, it's from the point of view of, that there is an afterlife and I'm gonna go meet God and blah blah blah. And she's like, oh, okay, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. I was a little bit concerned because she doesn't really listen to my shit. It's hilarious. Oh man.
Mm. No,
That's
no, it's
it.
just
That's
insanity.
it.
That's all
And
it
I've got
is.
a brother, soul brother Mo, who's insane with me. It's really cool, man. You are the first guy, because I listened to your podcast, that is really going all out into you are not your mind, you are not your body, and you are the witness of this beautiful freaking illusion that is going on in front of us, and it's so crazy. So, is there anything that you wanted to plug before we leave?
Um, well, I
Oh,
was
shoot.
like that. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm seeing it more and more now that I am like myself is the controller and the observer of this body. It's almost as if I could be in a in a dog, in a cat, in a cow, and it would be the same experience. It's just that me and what I am able to control
But
is sort of who I
do you
am.
feel like you have control?
You know what
Because
I
I've
mean?
been pondering on that, as if free will doesn't really exist. I don't know if you've listened to the latest podcasts of Sam Harris. No, no, no. Sam
The
Harris
light?
does a
Oh
really
no.
strong argument that free will is really an illusion and it does not exist. Like what you're seeing in front of you, or what you're feeling, or what you're thinking is it comes from the body. You have no control over it other than being the witness of it. And it's really making me think, like that's where I was asking you about the anger, when your brother is making a lot of noise upstairs and you just get this rage that comes out from nowhere.
Mm.
It's like I don't know if that's avoidable. Like the more that I think about it, the more I'm thinking like I'm actually convincing myself as if I have a choice, as if um like my life is being controlled by me, the observer, like the soul, as if the soul is actually playing a video game and I'm inside my body and I'm controlling it. S- I'm I'm starting to get the illusion that maybe it's all an illusion and that everything was already planned. Like the future, the present, the past does not exist on the other side. You know what I mean? So does that mean that everything is predetermined and I just need to write it out in a way? And even the letter that mother wrote through my buddy Morgan, and when we went to Peru, she was saying that most of it is her, and a little bit is God, and the rest is just like free will, but only a little bit is free will. And the part that is free will is almost like intention. You can have the best intention in the world, but when shit gets real, you are going to go back. Like the body's going to do what it's going to do. If you didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh, I've never like I've heard that before, and I wonder like if especially in events like in the world, like am I is this and this set to happen for me? Like is this written in stone? Am I
Right.
just living it to
Or,
learn? That I don't know. But I know it's all I
and
have control over is my
and it's almost
awareness.
like,
That's the thing.
am I here to live this experience to learn? Like whatever I've chosen my experiences to be in this life, the fact that I'm experiencing it is something that is unique to this world. Experiencing on the other side from all of my meditation and like everything that I've been listening to is that you are going with the flow. Like you are I am, right? When you die, you become it. And there's nothing other than it. And whatever happens, you're just going for a ride. And I am, right? Everybody talks about that. You are, I am. And here, yeah, you get to experience what is and what is not. And that's where you get the learning that you are awesome, that you are great. Because it's almost like right now where we're at in our life. It's almost like we've had so many lives prior to this one that showed us how freaking awesome we are. And the more that we're living, the more that we're gonna get an awakening that's earlier in our life, earlier in our, like yours at 20 or 18 years old. That's sick. Ram Dass talks about it that the most enlightened being, they get born, they die right away. It's like the souls that just needed to do that last experience and be able to surrender at birth and be like, yeah, no, I'm good. You know what I mean? There's nothing else that I want to experience. I've experienced it all, and I am convinced and 100% guaranteed that I am love, that I am, that I am, period, that I am. And then it ends there. And that idea is
Mm.
really, Hinduism talks about it. Um, have you heard about that?
Well, yeah, I know that there's this quote I read. It said, like, before you identify your mind with an emotion, I am happy, I am this. Before all that comes
Yeah,
this saying, I am. And that is just like you exist.
period.
Like, that is you. But yeah, but before that, I wanted to like add, you were saying like how like, I don't know, like we think that like, okay, we are amazing and as a human race. Like I realize with sort of like detaching and living this world like almost like a visitor on this planet that is inhabited by humans. I look around and I have such an appreciation for like technology, and like I'll go into a grocery store and I'll be like, okay, like humanity has done this and this in history to lead to this moment in this day, so we can have this grocery store and like this type of technology and stuff like that. It almost feels like you unlearn
A hundred
everything you
percent.
know.
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's when you get the downloads. That's the paradox of memory or learning. The more you unlearn, the more you allow it to show you, and then you learn. Yeah, you get the download. And more to that, Mother was telling me lately,
Yeah.
like, have you ever heard of the Unabomber Manifesto? How he was. So there's this guy in the United States
No, I have
that
not.
super intelligent that started to do a lot of bombings, and he was killing professors and people that were working on technology because he was saying that the machine of the governments, right? The big machine that is unstoppable technology. It's something that you can't stop anymore, right? It's going forward and it's ruining the world to a certain extent. It's creating so much pollution, and there's no way to stop it because it's all tied in with society, money, and the world goes round kind of philosophy. So he started doing a lot of killings, but
Yeah.
everything that he predicted in the past, because that was in the 1990s, like he started in the 70s and it lasted all the way to the 1990s, and they found him after a while. But everything that he predicted is happening, right? The acidification of the ocean to just technology, money, and how we can't stop the machine. Like there's no way that you can stop progress from continuing. You would, the entire world would go into famine, right? You need the technology to be able to produce food and so on, like the grocery stores and everything like that. But as I've been pondering on the idea that life is perfect, and I'm trying to wrap my mind about it because she's telling me like life is perfect, even though suffering is happening, suffering has a reason. Suffering is there for you to teach, for learn. And don't worry about the planet. Everybody's already dead. And the idea that, God has a plan. And for you to doubt his plan is just insanity, like as if you're, thinking that you're smarter than God or smarter than what is happening. And on top of that, she was telling me like technology is bringing an awareness that the awareness keeps going up and up and up. So you can imagine that one day when AI becomes fully aware, that type of awareness is going to be insanity. Imagine a computer that's able to hold inside of its frontal memory everything and be able to see it for what it is. Because what we see in our illusion is minuscule, like seriously. And like if we're concentrating on the television, there could be a monkey that walks right beside us and we wouldn't even notice it. Like we are so minimal when it comes to awareness. But yeah, she was telling me like the more that technology is going forward, the more that awareness is going up, and it's the age of awakening. And it's not something to be afraid of. No, be, you can't run away from suffering. So, one day you will die of cancer, or one day you will die from the machine, maybe. Who knows, man?
Hmm.
It's not for you to worry about. The only thing you can do is continue to grow your awareness. And just like uh, it kind of, that's what it was showing me, as like you're becoming more and more aware, like the grocery store, little things. And that's an awareness that is growing inside of you that is so beautiful. And it's like kind of purpose, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you talk to a higher
Yeah.
being lately? Like, is that something that you started as a practice?
Not really, but like before a meditation, I do that. Like I kind of like say out loud my intention. I do like try my best because I don't have a specific relationship with a higher power in a religion sense. So like I do believe in like a higher power. Like I said, like before a meditation, like I'll say it like I want this to be a moment of full presence and full consciousness and stuff like that. And I say that with full surrender to whatever it is that is higher than me
Yeah,
and that guides
it
me and
doesn't have to
controls
be
and has
it
birthed
doesn't
me.
have to be in
But
Hinduism. It could be just a trust of life, like the fact that, and as well, I feel like it also apply. Like if
mm-hmm,
you'd be an atheist, it applies. Let's say you have a full trust that your body is here, in this one life, and you're here to achieve as much as possible. That trust in your body is kind of a trust into a higher power, like the atheist way. There's nothing wrong with that. Like if you go full on trust that this body, like I need this body to perform at its peak, so I'm going to give it the best vitamins, the best food, the best workout, the best um, sleep, so that I can accomplish everything, in this one life. That's a trust that takes a lot of freaking courage, and a lot of like it's trusting your body, and your body can be that higher power, can be something greater than you. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the atheist thing you said there was very like true. Like you could
Yes.
just simply believe in the force of life that lives in trees and plants and bugs and mammals and
And
humans
then you
included.
get that
Just trust
same
into that.
reward, that same. The only reason why I'm so attached to Mother is
Mm-hmm.
when I went to Peru, that's kind of like what led to my awakening. And Mother, my internal, because it's so quiet inside, is just like, it's it feels good. Like it just feels freaking good. It, but really, I'm talking to myself, the same as you. Like I'm putting my intention forward. But the beauty of it is that the more I've been practicing into setting my intention, outside of myself and trusting that a higher power, I allow my inner monologue to speak up, because it's been so quiet for so long that there is a trust there, as if I didn't trust, like, because I knew that it was an illusion, it just went quiet, as if it didn't matter anymore. But the paradox is, the more that I grow in my spirituality, the more that I get to bring in the insanity, not the insanity, I don't know how to explain it, but like, when I hear something now in my inner monologue, it's because I trust in this higher power, and I allow it to speak up with a truth. Like there's a truth about it that is undeniable. I'm not confused. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can explain it properly, but it really feels
Mm.
like the Eckhart Tolle, because I've read up a little bit on him too, is when he separated, like it was just in a state of bliss. Like there was no more noise. It was quiet. I don't know.
It's more like your
Yeah.
natural state. Like it's more like instinct. You just
And that's
know
where the great
what
downloads
to
and the
do
great
and what to
knowledge you were
say.
talking about, like it's just, it comes from nowhere and you just know that's a truth. And there's no way for you to explain it or to even put it on paper. It's just ineffable. There's a truth about it and you know it. And then you get to have beautiful conversation and that's why I enjoy saying like I'm dumb as a post because seriously, it was my journey in life to man, even in high school, I would take a test, and right after the test, I'd forget like everything. I didn't want to. It's as if I didn't have any purpose for it. And life is like that. There's nothing that for me, anyways, right now, that school taught me because I realized at one point that as soon as you start working somewhere, they teach you everything, anyways, and it's just repetition. And you teach the monkey what to do, and it's just repetition. There's nothing like knowledge comes from source. Even like when you're reading Eckhart Tolle, I've got a feeling that the reason why you're remembering what you're reading is because you're kind of connecting with the energy and the frequency that Eckhart Tolle connected when he went through his transition. And it's that same energy that he experienced. And it's not like he's the one that brought the knowledge to earth. Like that knowledge always existed. It's just you went on that frequency and you're riding the wave. And then you get to identify like, yeah, what he says makes sense. And then you bring it in your own, awareness. And then when you talk to somebody else, you say, oh yeah, it's from this book or it's from this guy. But really it's from the source. They call it oh man, the equation. I don't know. But anyways,
I know, like it's like
yeah,
ideas already exist. Like the form, for example, an invention,
yeah,
the form of the wheel, like a wheel, like for a wheelbarrow or a car, it's always existed. It's just it needed to be brought into awareness and into
yeah. And the more
manifestation and
passionate you are
existence.
about an issue, the more enjoyment, the more energy you bring to the table, the more the download, the greater the download, the greater the knowledge. And it really comes with like enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is so freaking important in life. I don't know about you, but when you get enthusiastic about something, it's so easy to learn anything, anything. It just comes in like butter. It's so easy. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
There needs to be a pure
So
intention
what
behind it.
what about enthusiasm?
Definitely.
What are you enthusiastic about lately? Because now that you've got all of this craziness going on in your world when it comes to awareness, spirituality, like what's the next step?
Well, like having gone through, I'm sure you can relate to this. Like after like a while of doing like psychedelics and smoking, you do get hit that plateau of just like life isn't real and society and money and this and that is all like man-made and it is meant to keep you in the system forever. And like I went through a crisis. Like I was like what? Like I don't want to live like this. I can't. But now I've broken out of that. Like I work and I've re-enrolled into a program like that I actually want
Yeah,
to so for the fall of this year. So I'm just excited to like be my own adult and just go about the human experience. I'm gonna look at it like that. So before it was like, oh, you work a 9 to 5, you're a slave. Like what? Like that's not the point of life. The point of being a human is not that. But now it's just like, well, it's okay. This is what the human experience is like
I
on
went
this
through that
very
a
earth.
hundred
Like I'm
percent.
gonna have to
It's
deal with
almost
it.
like spirituality shows you like a Garden of Eden, as if like, hey, this could be so perfect if everybody would just smoke or everybody would just like, and you go through that, realize after a while, no, that's
Exactly.
not the point. The point is
Yes.
that suffering,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
life, the uniqueness of like you going to school and having this struggle of like, is that really what I want? And that's what matters, not the Garden of Eden bullshit. Like, there's no way that everybody would be happy all at the same time. There's always half of the population will want one thing and the other half will want another thing. And then you're just, you know, then half gets one thing and then the other half's pissed off, or and that's life. But what's been bringing me like to this understanding, and what's like really important, like you say, it's like the human experience, enthusiasm, and the idea of the connection of every time that I meet a new soul now, it be a stranger or you or anybody, I get so excited at the idea that I'm going to be connected to that soul when I die, good or bad, even my enemies. Like, I'm going to be happy to see them on the other side and see, like, you played a part in my life. Like, you made me go so dark, but without that darkness, I wouldn't have learned this and this and that. I wouldn't have had my kids maybe like just, I'm starting to realize like how awesome it is to live the human experience and to do things with an enthusiasm and like bringing effort to your life in the daily, even if I would lose an arm, like what would I like to go into the darkness and to
Hmm.
come out of it, sooner rather than later. Obviously, it's better, but maybe not, but it leads you to a knowledge, to something at the end. There's always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. No matter how much the rainbow is just an illusion, there is a pot of gold in the end. You know,
Yeah. And yeah, most importantly is just
yes.
to
And
be
yeah,
present
be
in all that
present
you
and
do.
like be aware that, yeah, like the observer, like you're seeing it from a spiritual point of view to a certain extent. This,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like at this point of history on this planet, this is where we're at. We live in societies, in communities, in cities, in provinces. Like this is what it is, and
yeah,
to go against it
I'm glad
is
you're
not
going with the flow, man. I really am.
ideal.
Because even in my life, like I was thinking about that the other day. It's like, oh, if I could just have financial freedom, if I could just win the lotto, like how much better my life would be. And as soon as I think these type of thoughts, I get the sensation of going backwards. Like, no, 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 you're not understanding what's going on here. Like, this is your life. It's freaking beautiful. The experiences that you're going through, it be your depression, your suffering, the people that you've met because of that is absolutely insane. And to go against the grain of what is, just man, just go. You got this. It's it's illuminating. It's really eye-opening, and it's very sad at the same time. Like it's very in your face, reality. It's oh man.
Hmm.
Do you have
Yeah.
any other thing you wanted to share with me? I know I'm gonna be seeing you soon, but like this is crazy. This conversation is so beautiful, by the way. I mean,
That was, yeah. That was the majority of what I had. Like that has been
tell me,
me on the fourth dimension lately.
the fourth dimension, the
That
awareness,
that that
basically.
that's
That's
where
what
I
you're talking
stand.
about. I love it.
Yeah. I saw this quote. I want to share it with you. It's like our 3D self casts a
Right?
2D shadow, right? Our shadow when we walk outside in the sun, right? That makes me think that our third dimensional self, our human body,
Exactly.
is just a reflection of our fourth dimensional
As
self,
if your soul
the
is
non physical.
creating, like you are your the awareness of your soul is what is creating the entire reality. And as we're going forward, when I meet other soul and we get like two realities merging into one, and the entire, you know, uh reality, it's like the planet, or the universe, or yeah, I agree 100%. And people
Hmm.
the source, whatever, they talk about that, about that's we are the projection of 100%. And then that would mean that like God or Allah or that love is the fifth dimension, and then whatever is the sixth dimension. Because I don't think that's the end. Like I don't think that God is the ultimate thing. What has been what I've been meditating on lately, and what I've been shown is that this life, like this reality, is based out of love. But there is other reality outside of this love reality that maybe is based out of fear or based out of chaos or based like a feeling. Um, yeah, like you can imagine, right? A world that would be uh, courage based or fear based or shame based. But this world, love is is something else. Like it's imagine if God had a father, what would that be? And if I, well, but I've been thinking about that. Yeah. Anyways, my friend, I was super glad. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast, man. I'm so glad that you were my first guest. Are you still there, brother? All right. Well, it's perfect timing then. Thank you for joining us, Monkey and Frank for life. I love you all with all my heart, and I'll see you again later.